So we're out here at the MAC playing soccer, and it's a little cold outside. We couldn't go inside, so we had to play outside. It's cold for me and this little one here, but Jade and Elijah are still out there kicking the ball around. Check it out. Okay, day 30 in the vlog. We're going to cover Exodus chapters 4 through 6. So in chapter 4, we see that God gives Moses a few signs to confirm that the one to whom Moses is speaking really is the I Am. First, Moses' rod turning into a snake. Second, his hand becoming leprous and then turning back to normal. And then thirdly, some water being turned to blood. Moses then continues to make excuses as to why he's the wrong guy for the job and God needs to pick someone else, and God actually gets angry with him. But still, God is going to use Moses. Then it is Moses' return journey to Egypt. He takes his wife and his sons with him, and then there's a really weird part in verses 24 through 26 in which Moses' sons have yet to be circumcised, and it says that the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. It would appear for this reason, and that God was going to actually kill Moses for this. So his wife Zipporah, she cuts away the foreskin of her sons. She then says that I am a bridegroom of blood to you. Just a really weird and kind of crazy part of this chapter. Then Moses meets up with the elders of Israel and basically conveys to them, hey, God has met with me. He has heard your cry. We're going to be out of here soon. And they relay that message to all the people, and the people are just really excited about getting out of Egypt. Then chapter 5 is where we see Moses and Aaron first confronting Pharaoh and telling Pharaoh, hey, the God of the universe, our God, has told us that we need to go into the wilderness and make offering and sacrifice. And Pharaoh responds basically by saying, I don't know this God. Who is this God? And as a result, actually makes the work harder for the Israelites, for the Jews, and takes away a key ingredient for them as they're making these bricks for these storehouse cities that they're building for Pharaoh. He takes away straw, but yet the people have to make the same amount of bricks as normal, but they have to also take time to go find straw themselves. It's not provided for them. And the work gets more and more difficult, and the people question Moses and Aaron. And even Moses asks God, why have you caused this to happen? And why is it that you are bringing this evil upon your people? Then chapter 6, God responds to Moses' accusation against God, and God basically reminds him of who he is, and says that he will fulfill his promise, it will come to pass, and really from here on out, whenever we see God speaking to Moses, God is giving Moses kind of the game plan of what is going to happen, but ultimately God will deliver his people out of Egypt. And then the chapter wraps up with Aaron and Moses' genealogy, and then transitions to chapter 7, which is where we're going to start jumping into the plagues. What really stuck out to me in these 3 chapters was Moses himself and God's mission that he had, and the fact that he chose Moses, who was not a great guy. Like Moses, he was a murderer. Remember, he murdered someone. He doubted often and a lot. He was disobedient to God's plan and what God had commanded his people to do. And yet God still chose him. And I think the reason why we see God often choosing and using people that you and I would not think as the best candidates for that job is so that God's power and that God's glory is on display. This is talked about in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, in particular verse 26 through 31, which I believe is the end of the chapter. And in there, the scripture talks about that God, he chooses the foolish, he chooses the despised, he chooses the weak, he chooses the things that the world would not choose to accomplish these great goals, all for the purpose so that the boasting is not found in man, but rather in God. And therefore God gets all the glory when these awesome things happen through these people that seem like these awesome things should not happen through. So it really points us to the glory of God, which is just incredible to see, and it's an encouragement for me, and I hope for you, that God, he can use anyone. He can use whoever he wants to do whatever he wants, and all we have to do is submit to the Lord. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do some massive, big, cool, crazy work like Moses did, but if you want God to use your life, it's not necessarily based on your skill, your experience, or how lofty and spiritual you are, but it really is based upon your surrender to the Lord, your willingness, your faithfulness to the Lord, your faithfulness to obey simply and to simply say yes to what he asks. Either right now there's going to be more shots of some soccer shots, or I might throw in some footage of Christmas lights.